uh, the administration say, oh, yeah, well, tariffs are going to put a lot of money into the pocketbooks of America. But the fact is that tariffs are really a tax. And we have to understand that who's paying the tariff? Who's paying the tariff? It's the importer that's paying the tariff. And what's he going to do with that? What's he going to do with that increased money that he pays? Well, he's going to pass it on to you. And you're gonna end up paying. And that's more money out of your pocket.
Greetings, Posse. Welcome to the Roundup with Rodney and Rodney. I'm Rodney J. Littles.
I am Rodney Butler. Hey, Rodney, how's it going, brother?
Yo, man, we in the land of the living, bro. We're doing great.
Land of the living. We woke up on the right side of the earth, I tell you that this morning. Look, man, I know we got a great show tonight. I know we have a very detailed show. So I'm not going to waste a bunch of time. I know that you have an outstanding author and entrepreneur for this episode that you're going to introduce here in a second. And I also can't wait to get to your hot topic where we're going to talk about Louisiana doing the same thing that Texas kind of did with the redistrict of the citizens, getting the citizens to picking their voters instead of the voters picking them. And also, I know we have a great host spotlight, and we're going to talk a little bit about Black unemployment, which is rapidly on the rise. So without further ado, Rodney, take it away, brother.
Oh, it's my pleasure to introduce this Morehouse grad, Mr. Bruce Dobbs. He's the owner and president of Resources Asset Management, and is the author of a new book, Money Never Sleeps in the Patient Portfolios. Bruce, welcome, man. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing well, Rodney and Rodney. And you asked me how I'm doing. Well, I tell you, to tell you the truth, I am peeved. I know the correct word is peeved, but as we say, I'm pissed.
All right, talk to me, bro. Talk to me.
And I'm pissed. Well, I am terribly disturbed at what we now face in this country, and I know that viewers out there feel the same way that I do, and I just kind of wanted to voice that on your platform, because as I move about town and from city to city and state to state, I hear what's going on the ground, and we are unhappy.
All right. So tell me what we're unhappy about, my brother.
Well, we're unhappy about this administration. I know that I'm on this program to talk about finances and investing, etc., but it is all intertwined.
Oh, tell me.
Yes, sir. It's a conversation. Yes, sir.
It's politics and finance, as Major Jackson used to say. Politics and finance, that's the power deal.
Okay.
And we have to look at what this administration is doing, how it is doing it, and stand up, because my mother, my parents, and your parents, and your ancestors did not fight this fight for us, America, to go down. And when I talk about America, I'm talking about all of America. So this is not a Black issue. It's not a Chinese issue. It's not a Latin issue or anything. It is an issue that faces America and our fundamental freedoms and rights. So it's politics and finance. For an example, now you got
talk to me.
You got to go. All right. So for an example, one of the indicators when you're looking at investing is, what's the job growth?
Yes.
So when you look at the job growth, and you have an administration that gets perturbed or gets mad and says, well, the numbers don't pan out because, because there should be some job growth, but hell, you fired half of America. I mean, what are you going to do? You
Talk to
know,
me.
when
Yeah.
you when you yeah, I mean, any any fool can see that if you fire, look, if you got 100 employees
Yes, sir.
and you fire 50 of them, well, you're going to have 50 people that are unemployed. you know, I
We say,
mean,
right, the numbers speak for themselves.
come on, So, and we talk about, there's been a lot of talk about tariffs,
Yes. Tell
and
me.
the administration say, oh yeah, well, tariffs are going to put a lot of money into the pocketbooks of America, but the fact is that tariffs are really a tax, and we have to understand that who's paying the tariff? Who's paying the tariff? It's the importer that's paying the tariff.
Okay.
And what's he going to do with that? What's he going to do with that increased money that he pays? Well, he's going to pass it on to you.
The customer.
And you're going to end up paying. You're going to end up paying more, and that's more money out of your. That's more money out of your pocket. So, this tariff issue is one that people throw back and forth, and they go and they say, yeah, well, this, yeah, well, that. I mean, look, let's look at the fundamentals. Let's look at let's look at common sense. And when
Okay.
these guys get on television and they want to spout all of this, this and that, and use this term and use this term, I urge all you visitors or everyone watching this, just use your common sense.
Hello.
Just, yeah. So anyway, Rodney, I'm here to talk. Ask me some questions.
All right. So what brought you south, man? Where you from?
Actually, I'm from New York City, but what brought me south is that in the late 30s, my parents moved to New York City.
From where?
My father had an incident with the Ku Klux Klan there on Mason Avenue in DeKalb County.
Oh,
From what I understand, the Ku Klux Klan used to have these little marches,
okay.
up and down Mason Avenue, and they would
Gotcha.
put these little caskets on the porches of people. And now
Whoa.
my grandfather was a very outspoken person, and my grandmother was very nice looking woman. And the way that I understand it was that this Klansman was looking to accost my grandmother while my grandfather was at work, and my
Oh.
father just happened to be there, and my father went and got the 45 or went and got the
Whoa.
pistol
All
and
right.
backed this Klansman, off. And
Wow.
the way I understand it is that night my father was on a train to New York,
Got it.
and he
Got it.
stayed in New York. He didn't come back to Atlanta for 15 years.
Wow.
So now you ask me how I got here. Well, I have family here, and
Got it.
my father had gone to Morehouse,
Okay.
and I had just come back from Europe working as a musical director for a Corsican rock group.
Whoa. Okay. Okay. Entrepreneur.
How about that? And at Atlanta, I could not do in New York City
Okay.
what was happening in Atlanta. And so I had a good base. One of my good buddies, Roger Bruce, was in here. We're trying to get Roger Bruce to run for state senator. He recently retired. So Roger, if you're listening, get ready. But coming back to Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
was Atlanta has always been the mecca for black entrepreneurs. And you
Mm.
walk down the street and you see
Yeah.
Maynard over there, hey Andy, and you couldn't do that in New York City.
Right. Gotcha.
That's what brought me back. Opportunity.
I understand. I understand.
Yes.
I understand.
Yeah.
So tell us about your book and how you got into writing and what motivated you to get into the field you're in.
Well, which book would you like me to talk about? Because
Hey, whichever. Go ahead.
I've got 5 of them. Okay.
Okay.
I've
All
written 5,
right.
but the latest 2
Okay.
is I was a personal trainer, and as you know, very much into martial arts. This one is called Fun and Fit. I don't know if you can see that. Fun and Fitness for the Fine
Okay.
and Foxy and Old School Player.
Ah, I heard that, bro.
Okay.
Come on now.
And that one is written for us. That's
Gotcha.
written for people
Gotcha.
over 50 and just urging people to stay
Okay.
healthy.
Right.
This one is Money Never Sleeps in the Patient Portfolio. And this is how to preserve your wealth through wisdom and grow your money through strategy. So you hear people talk about health, wealth, and happiness.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
we've got health and wealth and happiness. You have to do that for yourself.
I heard that, bro. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So, in this current climate, as you so aptly put it when we started out, what do you advise our audience to do to prepare themselves for the current economic climate and as we see things going? I understand that China and other holders of U.S. bonds and treasury notes are liquidating them. How is this going to affect the American dollar value in the world? You mentioned tariffs, and that's going to impact on the job market and the economy. So tell me what we should be concerned about and monitor, and then how should we prepare for and survive this oncoming situation?
Well, I will tell you the uh, the the first thing that I tell people, and in my philosophy, in my investment philosophy, it is important not to panic.
Okay.
I say, do not panic, pivot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you pivot, you look at, where are we in this cycle? Because the economy is cyclical.
Right.
And then also for growth, you look at, I urge people just to kind of look around.
Mm-hmm.
For an example, um, I like robotics.
Mm-hmm.
I was, we're here in Atlanta, and I know you've seen the Waymo
Mm-hmm.
robots,
Yeah, I was downtown last weekend. Yeah.
rolling around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they're here to stay.
Right.
They're not going anywhere.
Got it.
And you've seen the ones in the mall, running
Yes,
around
sir.
the mall and then up and down the streets and stuff like that.
With food.
With food, it's not going anywhere.
Got it.
So we've got to recognize when there's a trend.
Yes, sir.
For an example, let's look at different trends. When I was a child, we had a record player, and we had a little yellow disc we used to have to put in the 45, and the
Mm-hmm.
record would drop down and stuff like that,
I remember that.
right?
Rodney doesn't, but I remember it.
Oh, yes, I do.
So from there, yeah, okay. So from there, we went to an 8-track.
Okay.
Remember the eight
Yes, I
tracks,
remember the 8 tracks. Yeah.
right? And from the 8 tracks, we went to the cassette tapes.
Mm-hmm.
From the cassette tapes, we went to the CDs,
Right.
and now we're all digital. You know, so anybody that had during
Mm-hmm.
that time did not
Mm-hmm.
see that. Wait a minute, things are changing.
Right.
They're stuck. Now I understand people nostalgically still have record players, and I still have one downstairs. Downstairs in my basement. But
Right. Right.
everything I listen to now is all digital. So
Got it.
I definitely like robotics.
Okay.
Um, I like the energy sector, and let me tell you
Now,
why
what
I like
what
the
what
energy.
part of the energy sector? Drill, 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 baby, drill, or what?
Well, here again, it's all it's all related, and the reason why I say this, Rodney, is Rodney and Rodney. The reason why I say this is because with this technology, all of it requires what?
Power.
Power, energy,
Energy.
Yes.
right? And this energy, and energy is, you've got it as either created or destroyed.
Okay.
So you say, drill baby drill. So if you're drilling, you're drilling because it's this shale rock is going to be turned into something else that burns. It's going to be turning else to something that that turns a turbine. That's going to eventually run through the wires and power your electricity or power this robot and stuff like that.
Right.
So
Right.
I like the energy sector. I like the energy storage
Okay.
sector.
Okay.
And the reason why I like that is that, everything is battery,
Right.
so it's energy and battery. And
So,
believe
so
it or not,
Bruce, let me ask
yeah,
you something real quick, just real quick on the energy piece, because like you said, you like energy. From what I understand, I don't know exactly how true. Well, I know it's true, but I can't go into depth. But AI, from what I understand, AI actually consumes a lot of energy, a lot of energy. And so if we're going to be get more and more dependent on AI, right? Then that means that maybe we should be investing in energy. But like Rodney's concerned, I know the environmental piece as well, but a lot of people don't really care a lot sometimes about the environmental piece, but they continue to get rich. It's like, what should we do? But yes, AI and energy.
yeah, and the data centers, which brings me to
Yes.
another point. There's something else I like with energy.
Okay.
I think sustainable energy is here to stay.
Okay.
Okay.
The what is the cow is already out of the barn.
Gotcha.
You see when you travel to other countries, you see the windmills. You see um,
Solar
the
panels.
the solar panels and stuff. And I had a solar company. Rodney, I think you remember. I had a solar
Yeah.
company like maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting point. 10 years ago, and I mean, it may even be about 12 years ago, when I had a solar company, I could not I could not sell solar panels in Georgia. My company. Do you know why?
Wow. Why?
Because Georgia Power had the
Ah,
lock on supplying energy.
I gotcha.
And if I sold solar panels, I was supplying energy.
Wow.
So
Wow.
so Georgia
Politics
Power
and
said,
Yes,
business.
yeah,
sir.
Georgia Power said, but now, but when Georgia Power gets in, it's all right
Oh,
because
it's
they're the ones
okay.
who selling, they don't,
Yeah,
so I do
Greystone.
think,
Yeah.
yeah. So I do think that after this administration leaves, and I do think that they will leave. I do think that they will leave, particularly if we get into these midterms and people go out and vote. I'm not telling you who to vote for, but if you're unhappy and you know it, go and
Clap
vote.
your hands.
If you're unhappy and you know it, go and vote.
Woo. Go and vote.
And I can't stress the importance. I talk to people, and sometimes people feel, they say, well, what can I do? Here's this person that's just, he's got this stacked. He's got the Supreme Court stacked. He's got this. What can I do? And Adam Clayton Powell had a very powerful speech that I like. He
Harlem
said,
Congressman.
yeah, that's right. He said, "What's in your hand?" And he talked about, he talked about David going up against this Goliath, with just this rock in his hand, and he talked about what's in your hand.
Right.
He talked about George Washington Carver going out in the fields down there in Tuskegee and, grabbing a few peanuts and sweet potatoes and doing more with a sweet potato and a peanut than anybody else, on this earth. So he talked about, what's in your hand. He talked about, Paul, what's in your hand, Paul? All I have in my hand is just this pen, and I'm going to write these letters to all of these people. What's in your hand? So, I say to people who are watching this, what's in your hand? Well, you've got in your hand, you've got that vote in your hand. And Rodney, they're trying to take it away from us.
Yes, sir.
But that vote is precious, and people died. People died. People gave their life for us, not only black people, everybody, to be able to vote. And so, I say, definitely vote. How much more time do we have? Because I know
as much as we need. As much as we need.
But let me Rodney, I do want to say this though before we go real quick, Rodney, and
go right ahead.
Because I really do like the way that Bruce is intertwining what he was brought here to talk about, which his primary was being an author and of course an entrepreneur, and talk about taxation and all that stuff, and he's doing an outstanding job doing that. But I do want to applaud you. Like you said, if you're unhappy and you know it, go out and vote. I really like that. But I really do like the way you're talking about the voting piece and how important that is for you as an author and an entrepreneur. We know that a lot of people are going to watch this episode who are up-and-coming authors, who are up-and-coming entrepreneurs. But listen, like Bruce is telling you, voting is very important to the outcome of how successful or unsuccessful you're going to be in your quest to become an author and an entrepreneur. And I would say this, Rodney, what we have coming up here locally in Georgia, and you guys know it, is the PSC, right? Which is the Public Service Commission, right? He talked about Georgia Power, right? He talked about how he could not sell a solar panel in this state because Georgia Power got it on lock. The reason that Georgia Power has energy on lock is because of what those 5 people, I think that's on the PSC. I think it's 5. Those 5 individual people for the whole state of Georgia on the Public Service Commission. Now, I'm one that think they need to rename that whole thing because people thinking, okay, Public Service Commission, like
private sector.
Yeah, they are about power. They are about energy, right?
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to say that, Bruce, because you ran into that issue with your own personal, as an entrepreneur. So I want other entrepreneurs to know, you better get out there and vote, and you better convince other people to vote. And these certain ones that people don't see as important, like the Public Service Commission, the PSC, it is very, very important. I just want to say that, Rodney.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you, man. Good looking out.
Power.
Yes.
Okay. So you got me, Rodney, you got me going. All right, well, let's talk about power.
Go ahead.
Right? Because, I'm a martial artist and I like fundamentals, right?
Yes,
when you practice fundamentals, you get better. So let's talk about power. When you think about power, there are only 3 types of power. 3 types of power. Okay. There's the power that says, look, if you do this, I will pay you. Or if you don't do this, you won't get paid. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Then you have the power that says, if you do that, I'm going to kick your butt. Or if you don't do it, I won't kick your butt.
Got it.
Right?
Yes,
and then you've got the power that says, look, I don't care what you say or what you do. I'm not doing what you say, right? So of all of those powers, which one is the most powerful?
Third one.
That's right. The power of the will. Now, how does that translate into how does that translate into what's going on and what we've been talking about?
Come on, Professor.
All right. So we talk about power. All right? Supposedly with these tariffs or with these sanctions, what do the sanctions do? They say, look, if you do this, I'll pay you, or if you don't do this, I won't. I'm going to sanction you. I'm going to take your money away, right?
Right.
right? Power.
Right.
If you do this, I'm gonna send my troops over. I'm gonna kick your butt, right? Or if you don't do this, I'm gonna leave you alone, right? But the most important power is the power that lies within the people that says, look, you can kick my butt up and down. And you saw it in Nelson Mandela. You saw it in Martin Luther King. You saw it in Gandhi. I don't care. It's the same power that you have and I know some of you people have told this to your employee, take that job and shove it.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So I mean, once we understand, what's this power, and once we understand that this power that we have is with the people, it is with us.
Gotcha.
A word to the entrepreneurs and people out there. Look, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you got to be tough, because you're going to run into some things. It's nice. It's real nice to have it on paper, and you should put it on paper. But let me tell you that life will kick your butt. And I'm just serious,
Hey, you're being honest.
When you run it, running into adversity, running into adversity is a part of life. And I have been there. I have been in. Look, I've been a janitor, and it wasn't always this. I've been a janitor, a security guard. Doing this and doing that. I've lived from paycheck to paycheck. So when I'm talking, I'm not talking from some cloud somewhere. I'm bringing you the real deal. So so you have to have that type of fortitude in you. That's where you're going to understand that if you have this idea, people aren't necessarily going to say, oh yeah, you got this great idea, come on in, let me give you that money. No, it doesn't work. It's not going to work that way. When I went to Merrill Lynch, the reason why I went to Merrill Lynch is because and actually I had been an executive, but I just didn't understand money. So when I went to Merrill Lynch, well, first of all, I went to 11 different brokerage houses and got turned down by all of them.
Wow.
But the interesting thing was in interviewing, and this is for people who are looking for jobs.
Right.
So in interviewing, all of the interviewers from the different companies asked the same questions, right? So as one company turned me down, I got stronger because I got the question. So when I went to the next company and they turned me down, I got strong because I got another question. So as I got turned down, I got closer to my goal and I got stronger. So by the time I got to Merrill Lynch, I was a bear. I was like, look.
Yeah.
I was interviewing them.
Okay. I heard that.
So I just kind of wanted to
That's
put
a good moral.
that out there.
Well, listen, my brother. Go ahead.
The other thing, and I'm going to stop because I know we only,
No, go ahead.
our time is
leave us your
limited.
thoughts.
I urge people to read.
Yes, sir.
Reading is very, very important. There's one of my favorite books. This one over here, the American Slave Coast. It is a very good book. It's an American history book because it talks about the dynamic between what was happening on the East Coast of America during slavery. How Virginia, the state of Virginia, was known as a slave breeding state.
Okay.
And in South Carolina, they were like, yeah, okay, Virginia is a slave breeding state, but we're still going to be importing these slaves and whatnot. So let's bring it back to finance. So, all right. So now if you're a manufacturer of slaves, because that's what Virginia was, if you're this is your product.
Right.
And you got somebody in here bootlegging your product, right? Bringing in
Yeah.
slaves, down in Georgia and whatnot, and undercutting your price,
Oh,
finance,
yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
Then you're gonna be pissed. You're gonna be mad, peeved. Okay. So you got these folks going back and forth with one another. And what
Uh-huh.
and what happened with this? It went political. It went
Yeah.
into an agreement, right? With South Carolina and and Virginia had a political agreement of how they were going to handle the slavery. Another very important point. People talk about, yeah, well, the slaves, we built this uh, country. Yes, we did, but people do not understand the depth of how this worked. For an example, um, if you had a slave, you could borrow money against that slave.
It was an asset.
It's an right, precisely. It's an asset. So what do? You hustle up, you get enough money to buy one slave, and you borrow against that that slave, and you go and you buy another slave, and you
Okay.
put him to work. You don't pay him, you put him to work, all right? And you got this product. Now the other thing people don't understand is that you got these slaves. Well, what do? Well, you want to make sure once you buy this slave, you insure. You take out
Oh,
insurance
insurance
on the
policy.
slave,
Gotcha.
right? Who
Yeah.
makes money?
The
The
insurance company.
insurance companies.
Got it.
You,
It
you,
created a whole multiple industries.
And some of
it's
those
a
businesses still exist today, by the way.
Yes, sir.
yeah, oh
Those
yeah.
insurance companies. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
Built on
absolutely.
slavery. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But they will not tell you that.
Oh no, they
But
Right.
won't.
No.
let's look at the dynamics behind. I mean, look, fact is a fact is a fact.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I've been running my mouth.
I appreciate you, man. Well,
I'm
listen.
one of those Malcolm X Mau Mau type of guys.
Yeah, but money. I mean, we wanted you on here to talk about politics and money and how it in fact impacts us. So tell us how folks can reach you if they wanted to reach out to you to come talk about your book or to get some advice on the investment side. I'm waiting until my lotto ticket comes in, man. My Powerball ticket comes in, then I'm gonna come see you.
Well, look, you start from where you are, and like Tupac says, I ain't hard to find.
Mm.
No,
Okay.
that's right.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but my email address is bdobbs at resourcesassetmanagement.com. And you can Google, everybody's on Google. I mean, you can Google Bruce Dobbs,
There you go.
and I'll jump up.
And we can get your book anywhere. Bring your book up again. Let me see your book,
Yeah,
the
it's
most recent
on
one.
these two, and I've got uh, the other one is the Success Within,
Okay.
and I have another one called The Evidence of Things Not Seen, and
Okay, Mr.
excuse me.
Author.
So, uh, like I said, I'm not hard to find. I'm out there. I'm I think that we need to get these picket lines going. We need to know exactly. We need to recognize, our power, and it, we are facing an American tragedy, and it is, as I said before, it is not a black issue. It is not a white issue. It's not a Jewish issue. It's not a Christian issue. It's a Buddhist. It's not a Buddhist issue. It's not a Muslim issue, because we all have the right here in this country. And I think that there was a quote or something like, is like when they went for the union worker, I didn't say anything because I wasn't a union worker, and they went for the
Yes.
Jews, and I didn't say anything because I wasn't a Jew, and they went for this person, and I didn't say anything because I wasn't that type of person. And then they came for me, and there was nobody left.
Nobody left.
Nobody left. So we got to be, we got to be on it.
Appreciate your time, man, and your great words, man, to part and close this. Great just full disclosure. This brother was a client of mine. He and his partner, Dave Martin, were clients of mine when I was transporting back and forth between New York and Georgia, trying to get down here. And I was working with them all to help finance a condo project on the Beltline before it even blew up, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man.
Yeah, that was Dobbs Landing. And let me say this. People know me for this. Every day is a holiday / holy day, and every meal is a feast.
All right. Thank you, my brother. God bless you.
All right.
Bruce, it was great to have you on the show, man. You cannot be a stranger. We got to have you back on to give us some of the well-rounded knowledge base that you have and the way that you're able to tie so many things that you've done over the years all into a lesson. So we definitely look forward to having you back on the show, brother.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes,
God bless.
God bless you. All right, Rodney.
I felt like I was in class.
Hey, man, I'm telling you, the brother gave a lesson and I really do like the way that he tied in finance and entrepreneurship and all of that, because we do have, and even being an author, because we have a lot of our people who are coming up being authors and being entrepreneurs. Correct. But you can't ignore politics. You can't ignore, like you said, it's not a black thing, it's not a white thing, it's not you know what I always say, Rodney, what it is? I tell you what the thing is. It is always come back to America's original sin.
Yes, sir.
That's what it is.
Yes, sir.
It's about slavery.
Amen.
But look, Rodney, I know that you have two outstanding. Well, we have our two segments coming up, and I'm looking forward to first the hot topic, which is that redistricting we talked about going on in Louisiana that's happening in Texas, that's coming to a state near you called Georgia.
That shit is going on. This kind of slipped right through the cracks, and it popped up in my feed as I was searching. And this is really, man, devastating. This move by Louisiana is urging the Supreme Court to bar the use of race in redistricting and attacking on Voting Rights Act. So what does that mean, Rodney? That means that when this battle is going on around the country for redistricting, like in Texas, particularly the red states, what they're doing is eliminating black districts that are definitely Democratic districts. And the fight back is that it violates the Voting Rights Act and that they cannot do that. And that was the pushback, because a case that began with a federal court ordered Louisiana to create a second majority black congressional district in response to the Voting Rights Act Section 2 violation, which dilutes the voting power of black residents in the state. After the new map was enacted in 2024, a group of non-African American voters challenged it, claiming it was unconstitutional racial gerrymander that violated the 14th and 15th Amendments. So what does that mean, bro? That means if this is upheld, the elimination of the use of race, which we didn't come up with, okay? The policies of this country have been based upon this since they started this construct called race, to divide and conquer people in this country by class, okay? And create, descendants of slaves as third-class citizens. I only say second class. So the fight all along has been to maintain the Voting Rights Act of the 1960s that gave us protections that we had fought for a couple of 100 years. Equal participation. So if you eliminate districts because they're black concentration, that is discrimination. But if you're no longer considered more than 3/5 of a human, then they can get away with this. So what's the message that's coming out of this? That we're less than 3/5 of a human? Well, that's what we're considered now? I'm fearful that based upon the history that's gone on, I'm concerned that the Supreme Court is not going to be favorable, in regards to this decision. In an unusual move, the court ordered a rehearing from the March 25th hearing and new briefings on whether the intentional creation of a majority-minority district violates the Constitution. Oral arguments are scheduled for October 15, 2025. I want our audience to put it on the calendar, pencil it in, save the date. This is serious, Rodney. Let me put it this way. We're going to have to start looking for another country. They don't want us here. That's the bottom line. They're saying that we are no longer eligible to have representation under the Constitution. We didn't write it. I don't believe the forefathers intended for this to be. Well, again, we weren't citizens at the time or humans.
Right.
But I believe that the times require an interpretation of the Constitution based on the times that we're living in. Because if we use the literal interpretation of the the gun law in the Constitution, then everybody would be issued a musket. Because that's the only weapon they had at the time that they were talking about. And it would be restricted to the National Guard, which is a well-regulated militia.
Yep.
So we can't have it both ways unless your intent is to remove us from society as human beings in this country. And that's what this statute attack says to me. How can a non-African American who has never suffered, his ancestors never suffered what our ancestors suffered, to be here today, that they have a right to challenge my right, my people's right to participate in the political process of this country? I'm sorry, but we need to call our MAGA brothers like Vernon Jones and a few others here in the state, and they need to go lobby on this. We need a friend of the court brief opposing this decision or this challenge. What say you, Rodney? I'm flabbergasted, man.
No, man. I love your passion on this. I feel your passion on this. And what I'm going to say, but Rodney, I'm going to push back just a little bit.
Go on,
I'm going to push back on that. They don't want us here. They want us here. But they want us here in the capacity that we were maybe slightly after Reconstruction, brother.
Okay. That's what we're going back to.
That's what we're going back to. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the forefathers, the so-called forefathers, never intended for us black people, to not be property in this country. And so as they wrote the Constitution, as they implemented policy, they always saw us as property. And so, Rodney, I've been saying on this platform, probably since we started this platform, at least in the way that we do it now, that they are not going to be happy. They are not going to be happy until they completely roll back the 1964 Civil Rights Bill and the 1965 Voting Rights Bill. Yep. They're not going to stop until that happens. And so, but they want us here, brother. Believe me, they want us here, but they want us here in a certain kind of capacity. I believe that, like I said, after the Reconstruction era, this country is back into kind of that Gilded Age. When the Rockefellers and the Fords and all of those, you had the very, very rich. There was small middle class, and you had the very, very poor. There were no social safety nets.
No.
And that is what they're that's what they're trying to eradicate right now, Rodney, to where everyone has to come back begging to the rich white men at the top.
Well, there ain't enough crumbs falling off the boss man's table based upon the unemployment figures and the projection for what's happening in this country economically,
Yes,
That's
sir.
my hot topic, bro. We need to be very vigilant. October 15th, we need to save the date. Turn on the news and follow this. This is a multi-century case that could turn things around to a state where I never imagined we would be after the 60s and after the 70s. Never imagined it.
Yes, sir. Well, Rodney, let's let's shine a spotlight on this black unemployment, brother.
Oh man, what you say right? Well, a lot of different things are affecting it, but it basically has to do with federal policy that has been instituted under the new administration, both foreign and domestic policies. I wanted to focus on the impact of unemployment as the Bureau of Labor Statistics has been updating and revising and reporting on these numbers overall. I wanted to take a look at our community so folks could see what's happening in our community as it relates to the overall picture. Black unemployment jumped 0.3% in August to 7.5%, more than double the unemployment rate for white and Asian Americans at approximately 3.5%. And that's according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I don't know who's in charge of that. That's where it came from. Hispanic Americans faced a 5.3% unemployment rate during the same period. While the overall unemployment rate rose just 0.1% over the past year, black unemployment jumped 1.4%. In contrast, unemployment rates for white and Asian Americans decreased slightly compared to the previous year. And here are the big numbers, Rodney. 1.7 million workers in farming and construction have been lost to unemployment. 112,000 jobs disappeared last month. Economists say 6 million jobs are at risk. Is this policy failure or political sabotage? I think that's a question for the pundits, but it makes you wonder, which is it? Meanwhile, the unemployment rate for black men at 7.1% was slightly higher than the 6.7% unemployment rate seen for black women in August. Though black women have seen greater employment losses since the first quarter this year. And we know that a large number were laid off through the federal government and this anti-DEI effort. Black teens of both sexes, ages 16 and 19, had an unemployment rate of 24.8%. That's scary. These are kids that are going into the workforce. If they don't go to high school, don't go to college or go into a training program, where are they going to be? The disproportionate impact on black workers reflects an historical pattern economists describe as, and you've heard this, last hired, first fired during economic downturns. This trend was previously observed during the Great Recession, when unemployment hit black and Hispanic America the worst. So what we need in terms of reparations is first hired, last fired. The opposite. Last fired, first hired. That might begin to deal with the problem. Federal employment cuts have been driving the job losses. Federal employment decreased by 15,000 jobs in August. This is the big, cutback and elimination of departments, bringing total federal job cuts to 97,000 since January. The reduction stems from ongoing impacts of what they call efficiency initiatives, anti-DEI, even as Elon Musk has stepped away from his White House role. So they haven't stopped. Couple more quick statistics and then we can chop it up because I know we're getting close to the end here. You heard about the job revisions, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, here you go. Job report revisions show negative growth for the first time since 2020. That was the beginning of the pandemic. I wonder who was that 45 was in office? Yeah, it was 45 was in office. Friday, September 5th report included significant revisions to previous month's data. June initially reported 139,000 jobs added. That was revised to a negative 13,000, marking the first job loss since December 2020 during the pandemic-related unemployment. Additionally, more than a quarter of black men worked in logistics, and that's described as production, transportation, and material moving occupations. The Bureau of Labor Statistics noted a research economist at the National Community Reinvestment Coalition, a nonprofit group, with 18.9% being in the transit sector specifically. These are black men. So we're affected by these tariffs, bro.
Yes, sir.
If they're not moving goods, that's affecting us, black men. In closing on my comments, black workers have historically faced higher unemployment rates than any other racial group due to structural inequalities in the labor market. Their unemployment rates rose past 16% in 2010 in the aftermath of the Great Recession and took years to recover to a record low of 5.3% in 2019. Black unemployment surged yet again during the pandemic, as we said, before dropping to a record low of 4.8% in April 2023. Who was in office during that time that brought the unemployment rate for black men down? Or black people down? Okay.
Sleepy
Even
Joe,
when black
yes.
he don't want to blame that on Biden. Even when the black unemployment rate was at its best, it was still nearly twice that of whites.
Yes.
Mr. Hoover said. So the history is we consistently have a higher unemployment no matter how good it is. We skew the average up. And we're in industries that are very sensitive to being affected by public policy as it relates to trade. So, Rodney, we have to be focused right now on survival tactics, understanding what we have to do to survive this transition, because it's not just affecting us, but it's affecting us more than anyone else.
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry it's affecting other people. Don't get me wrong. I'm still American, but my brother, it's affecting us more.
Yes.
Okay, and if black men are hurt like this, what does that do to the household? What does that do to the children that depend upon a father, whether they're in the house or not? So we have to pull it together, man. Like we said in earlier shows, we have to work very diligently on survival tactics and being a bridge to one another through this crisis. You got to save your pennies, cut your debt, cut your spending, save, figure out ways to reduce your costs, pack up on non-perishable foods, store them. That's what we're headed towards. And my son, he's getting ready. He lives in Houston. He's getting ready. He told me what he's doing. He said, Dad, it's coming. It's not coming, Dad. It's here. It's here. So that's my concern and my thought. And I don't know if the picture has been told to our folks what the numbers look like to us. How it's affecting us. They'll tell you the overall numbers, but I want the people in the Black Man's Roundtable audience to understand how we look at things. We're trying to figure out how does this affect our community.
Yes, sir. And Rodney, some would say, well, it's always been that way as far as the unemployment rate, right? It's always been the last 40 years and, well, probably since they've been keeping statistics for unemployment, that unemployment is always twice as high in the black community than it is in the white community, even when it's at its lowest. Even when it's at its lowest. I don't even have to look at the statistics, Rodney. I just know that if black unemployment is at 4%, then white unemployment is at 2%.
Thank you.
I automatically know that. If I see a statistic where black unemployment is 10%, I know that it is 5% for white people without even looking.
Right.
But what they want us to do is accept that and get used to that. It's like, well, what's the problem? Right now Trump isn't doing anything more than what what Joe Biden did. For instance, unemployment was 4% under Biden, and so it was 2% under Trump. So there you have it. You have your twice as much under both presidents.
It's a structural issue. You're right.
So that tells me that it is policy driven as to the unemployment rate, and that institutional racism is built into it. Correct. So no matter who is the president, what history has shown, no matter who's the president, no matter who's in the White House, the unemployment rate, even at its best, is twice as much for black people than white people. Now, we had this saying, Rodney, that for a very long time, when immigration wasn't this big issue in America, we had this saying that when America gets a cold, black people get the flu.
Right.
Well, now I guess we need to update that, just like we updated Jim Crow to James Crow Esquire. We need to update that saying, and maybe it should be when white folks get a cold, brown people get the flu, and black people get COVID.
There you go. There you
Maybe
go.
we need to update this
There
thing,
you
Rodney.
go.
But
That's
that
a
is
good way
you
to
know
put
what?
it, bro.
The last thing I will say about it, Rodney, is this.
Good way to put it.
There's a silver lining.
Yes, sir.
To every dark cloud, especially when it comes to African Americans in this country. And whether it was the housing crash and the auto crash in 2008, or whether it was COVID, some 5 years ago.
Yes, sir.
One silver lining to that, I believe, is that black people our entrepreneurial spirit kicked in. A lot of black people were fired and thrown out of the job market. Right. And they said, you know what? I'm never going back. Why am I going to keep going back when every time that this country has a cold, then I have to get COVID and I'm the first one gone, and all that stuff about the last one hired, first one. No, you just black. You just out of here. All of that first fired and stuff, that stuff is nothing. You know what I'm saying? And so, and I just believe that in the same way with COVID, the first people that was fired were all these black people. And so I do think with all of this stuff happening, Rodney, a lot of black people have become entrepreneurs. Yes. They are never going back into that workforce. Right. And as you can see, the unemployment rates and everything that you have brought, to the table, because no, it's not the housing market or the auto market that is crashing like in 2008. It's not COVID. This time, the I guess you want to call it, Rodney, the emergency in America is Donald Trump. And as you can see, look at the unemployment rates now. Look at who's getting fired. So a lot of these black people, I'm hoping that their entrepreneurial spirit kicks in, and that they are successful, and that they never have to go back into that job market, and they're able to survive. And like you said, Rodney, it's so much easier when you live within your means to be an entrepreneur. Right. But when you want to live lavish and all this other stuff, and I understand that it's harder as an entrepreneur now, because in America is one of the few countries that tie, your health care to your employment and those kind of things. I got it. And that's why they want for Obamacare to go away, because they want you to depend on these few billionaires in America that everybody works on their quote unquote plantation, and they want for you to be there. So they got to get rid of all kinds of social and health policies and things that'll help you, that'll make you have to stay on their plantation, if you will, Rodney. So look, it is what it is. But I think at the end of the day, Rodney, I think it's going to spawn more entrepreneurs with all of this. And yeah, there's going to be some people hurting. But you know what, Rodney? We talk about it all the time on this platform. And is that, look, if you want to, the difference between a moment and a movement is that in a movement, you have to sacrifice something. And sometimes you have to sacrifice your livelihood, and sometimes you have to sacrifice your own life. But I believe at the end of the day, this will become a movement. And I believe, just like with all movements that have happened in this country so far, I believe that we gonna be all right.
I agree, man. In closing on this point, I would advise young people to take a look, Google jobs of the future that will not be impacted by AI. That's the first thing you do. Second thing, look at the trades. Yes. Large corporations around the country, they're in the construction trades, are offering internships, apprenticeships to train you in the various trades, because there's such a shortage right now. Not just, in our community, but in general, there's a shortage. So those will be my suggestions for my young people and those who are repurposing their work. Look at those fields that will not be affected by AI, that they'll still need human beings to do.
And Rodney, you know what those young people can do too? Is stop falling for the okie doke, which is they told you Trump and all those people told you that that these brown people were taking your black jobs.
No, that ain't happening.
Well, if that's the case, right?
I know.
If that's the case, how in the world are you kicking out all of these brown people or all of these immigrants? How are you kicking out all these people, but the black unemployment rate is starting to skyrocket?
Oh yeah.
So nobody was taking
our jobs.
Nobody was taking your job. So that was a hoax in the beginning. But a lot of people believe that because they see these, primarily Hispanic people working, and it's like, they're taking a job. It's like, brother, you wouldn't work that job anyway, because guess what? They are kicking them out every single day, but yet our numbers are going up in unemployment. But guess what? Guess who they looking to fill those jobs of picking this fruit and all this stuff, which is back-breaking, bone-crushing work, just like picking cotton back in the day. Guess who they're looking to do that? They're looking for people that look like Rodney and Rodney to go out there, but not so much us because we got these beards, this gray in our beards, but they're looking for people like you who doesn't have the gray in your beard.
Right.
Because guess what? They're not slowing down on kicking any of these people out of the country. Matter of fact, they're taking it up. It's going to Chicago, and all these other places. But look, somebody have to replace those people. Donald Trump already said that the people in the urban areas don't want to do it.
Right.
But guess what we're going to do? If you strip them of everything, if you strip them of all the social safety nets, all those things that help them, if you strip them of their medical care or whatever, let me tell you something, Rodney. People say what they won't do until that stomach start growling every single day, or you starting to see your child's collarbone. You'll be surprised what you would do.
2 points in closing.
Yes, sir.
1, there are more unemployed people than there are job openings.
That's right.
Let me repeat that. There are more unemployed people than there are job openings. That's a dangerous situation economically. And my second comment is, and you tell me who you think said this and who they're talking about.
Okay.
They're hardcore. They're not going to be good in 10 years, in 20 years, in 2 years. They're going to be criminals. They were born to be criminals. Frankly, they were born to be criminals.
Quote, Donald John Trump.
And who was he talking about?
Young black men.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Rodney, great show. Close it out, brother.
Yes, sir. Well, it's always a pleasure to be with you, Rodney.
Same here.
And to my posse, until next time, we'll keep rounding them up. Remember, you can find us on the second Thursdays of every month and the fourth Thursdays for the co-host special at 7 p.m. Check us out, the Black Man's Roundtable, on YouTube, on Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Until then, we'll keep rounding them up.
Peace, Rodney.
Peace out.
Hey, family. If you like what you saw, visit our website at blackmansroundtable.com for more information or to check out more content. Until next time, we'll see you in them suites and them streets. Peace.